Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And to begin, like I said on Monday's show, we would do the recaps of the previous games. Now, I did have like a full briefing period on Monday for the Patriots and Cowboys fans, so I encourage you to see that. First, let's begin. I know this is not on the schedule, but it's been talked about countless times. Bill Belichick, but let's specifically start with the Patriots. Bill Belichick has said that they are not, repeat, not going to put Bailey Zappi or anyone else as the starter. Mac Jones will remain the starter for this week against the Raiders. The Raiders are favored by 3 in this game. I have the Raiders winning. I didn't put this in my description. Hang on a second. Let me quickly do that. I'll do them as we go. But I have the Raiders winning this game because I just don't trust Patriots. I don't see how they're gonna win games. It's like every time. I say this about the Steelers offense, but it's the same thing as the Patriots offense. It's like going to the dentist, getting your teeth pulled without them putting the shot to numb it. It's basically what it's like. It's so bad. And I feel like there's a lot of teams that are like that this year, where it's just like you watch them play and it's not fun to watch them play. It's exhausting. Because you're just saying one of you scores so this game can end. Just score. Someone score. Who cares? I was voting for this team to win. I don't care anymore. Someone scores so this game ends. And I do think that's the I do think that's the problem. Now, I want to make sure this is abundantly clear. Everyone keeps saying, including Robert Kraft came out today and said he's open to firing Belichick if woes do continue. But I don't think it'll be fine. I mean, he's too close to Don Shula's record for that to happen. Someone's just gonna scoop him up. What I was tossing and turning with this last night, and I came up with this idea. What if they go and they go to Bill and say, "Okay, Bill, we're not gonna fire you. We're not gonna take your GM title away from you, but we're gonna have someone help you during the draft because you can't draft, obviously. This is bad. You can't draft skill position players." Thornton hasn't been on the field a lot. He was back at practice yesterday. We'll see if he can go. But it's obvious you can't draft skill position players. I trust you to develop them, but I don't trust you to draft them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hire someone outside the organization because everyone in that organization has been with Bill for so long, they're gonna do what Bill wants to do. That's how they operate because this is how Bill's done it, so that's how I have to do it. So you hire someone with outside experience in other organizations, you hire them, bring them to the Patriots and say, "Well, Bill, this is how we should do it. This is what you see, this is what I see. Let's compare notes." And if he's not game for that, like, I don't know, there's no other way to do it, I think. There will be probably 2 history lessons in this show. This is the first one. When Bill Walsh, and before him, his predecessor, and I guess mentor in many ways, was Paul Brown. Paul Brown named the Cleveland Browns. They were just called Cleveland. They didn't have a last name at the time. He was the one that came up with the Cleveland Browns name. Fitting that his last name was Brown, of course. But as he was getting up there in age, Art Modell, who then ended up moving the team to Baltimore, named the uh, basically kicked Paul Brown out of his office, owned the team, did everything he wanted to do with a that Paul Brown didn't exactly wanna do it in that particular way, which Paul Brown then called his son, and he said, "They took my team away from me. They took my team away from me," which is the reason why the Cincinnati Bengals exist. That was because Paul Brown was petty and said, "I'm gonna do it the way I want. I'm gonna be the owner, I'm gonna be the coach, I'm gonna be the general manager," and that's what he did. So, that's a quick story lesson from Paul Brown's perspective. Bill Walsh, they were struggling a couple years. Eddie DeBartolo, who was the owner, said, "We need to make a change." So they went to Bill and they said, "Bill, you're still calling the shots. You're still the head coach. You still have the name as general manager. However, you're not going to be general manager," which Bill Walsh was not happy with. He didn't want to just be the head coach. He wanted to be in control of everything. And Belichick is the same situation. So if you do it this way, are you kneecapping him? No. Is it a slap on the wrist for doing a bad job? Yes. But the alternative is kicking him out as general manager. I don't think you wanna do that. And the other alternative is firing him completely, which I don't think you wanna do that either. But also, does he wanna rebuild a team at 71, 72 years old? I don't know, because there's no way to fix it. You got a quarterback in Mac Jones that hasn't been good this year, regressed significantly since his rookie year. So, there is a problem with that. Next up, Anthony Richardson, Colts' young quarterback, is going on IR, was placed on IR earlier this morning, and said, and this is the thing that Richardson has to learn. You're a young guy, but you're constantly getting hurt. This is your third injury. This is an AC joint problem. You had a concussion. You've had a, I don't remember what the first one was, but he had 3 injuries, including this AC joint problem that he's going on IR. You gotta teach him, slow down, relax, play the game, don't take unnecessary hits, slide, do these things. This is not college anymore. You're protected beyond belief. Like, you're still protected within reason, and sometimes a little on the outside of reason. But this has to be fixed for Richardson, or else he's going to continue to get hurt, and it's not going to go good. Next up, the Rams have traded Van Jefferson to the Atlanta Falcons, along with a 7th-round pick for a 6th-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Van Jefferson has clearly fallen out of favor. Cooper Kupp has returned to the Rams after being on IR for the last couple weeks with a hamstring that became a muscle issue. Van Jefferson obviously fell out of favor. Tutu Atwell was playing above him. Puka Nacua was having a great year playing above him. So Jefferson was out of favor. They shipped him off to Atlanta. I was kind of surprised on how quickly that all happened, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it to see what Van Jefferson does in Atlanta with Desmond Ridder. This was a report as we move on to the Steelers. This was a report that Byron Leftwich wants to help the Steelers offense. Matt Canada is the offensive coordinator. I believe Leftwich is the quarterback coach, if I have my understanding right. Oh, okay, so he's not with any team as of right now. So And there's times that guys have done this in the past. Vic Fangio went and started to help, I believe it was the Eagles, in scheming, which I, again, thought was ridiculous that you could hire a coach for, like, 2 or 3 weeks. That to me is ridiculous. But if you can obviously do that, why not? They need help on the offense. Their offense is terrible. They're gonna win games if their defense plays amazing, which if it JJ Watt says any more about his brother, this defense is gonna be on fire. Dislocated finger, torn ligaments, he'll probably have to have surgery on at the end of the year, but he obviously kept playing, so it wasn't a problem. So that's how I see it. Let me make sure I have everything. Okay. 2 more things that we have. Lyle Collins is working out with the Jets and the Giants. Working out with the Jets today, that could be an interesting decision. Also, the Cowboys have brought in Rashaan Evans, the former Eagle, for a visit. They've had injuries with Leighton Vander Esch, and that depth is very weak. That could be a good option, at least a starting option. You know, you don't have anyone. So, it's not like he's gonna be asked to call the plays right away. If he is, it will be over a course of time. But they need someone, they don't have depth. Alright, moving into the recap portion. So, let's first begin. We didn't win a game this week, so our record is 22-12. The Bears ended up beating the Commanders, 40-22 in a game where Justin Fields looked good, looked really good. The offense and DJ Moore looked good. They could run the ball. The Commanders could not stop them. And the offensive line actually did a really nice job against the Commanders' defensive line. And it was amazing. The defensive line for the Bears actually showed up. So it was good. Now, there was times I was concerned during the game. I was like, yeah, but their defense gave up this big of a lead last week or 4 days ago. And there was times I was like, Sam Howell gonna do this really to the Bears again? This is gonna be bad. But I'm happy the Bears won. And I hope Justin Fields is the guy because he's got a lot of potential if they just use him correctly. But the last 2 weeks, he's looked like he was back at Ohio State, so keep it up. Next up, a surprising upset. The Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills 25-20. Look, I said this. The thing that's going to stop the Bills are the Bills. That's what happened. They turned the ball over. They made mistakes. You lose Matt Milano for the year more likely. That's not helpful. This team is either going to lose because of themselves or because of injuries. That's pretty much it. Josh Allen has to take care of the football. Take care of the football. Stop trying to play hero ball when you're down. Take care of the football. It's great to talk about how great the quarterback is when the team is winning. Talk the same way when the team is losing. We don't ever hear that with quarterbacks. Or we hear it too much with one quarterback, but then the next quarterback we blame everything when the team doesn't win a game. I'll get into the Cowboys when we get there. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence did a good job. Travis Etienne had a couple scores. I'm impressed with the Jaguars. That was a big win. I also think a big issue, the reason why the Bills lost, was not just that. They had to go into London. And they made the mistake of flying to London 2 days. They, I think, flew off on Thursday They should have taken off on, like, on Tuesday. Uh, they flew on a Thursday, they should flew out on a Tuesday. That's what they should have done. Get the bodies used to the time difference. They didn't, they looked slow, they looked out of it. One of the reasons that I think they were bad. Next up, the Saints beat the Patriots 34-0. This is the first time that the Patriots lost by 30 points or more since 1970. If I'm the Patriots, at what point does this offense work? We got to go back to the drawing board at some point. It doesn't work. Our guys aren't talented enough. And Mac Jones has to learn a little bit of, okay, we're sticking with you for now. But also, that might not be the case in a week or two. So let's fix this problem. Let's fix it now. Otherwise, you're not going to be the starter, and someone else is going to be the starter. But it also probably won't be a permanent benching because they don't have anyone that has any experience. So it might go bad either way. When your offensive line can't block, your wide receivers can't catch, you have to punt the ball constantly, and your kicker's missing field goals, and your defense is struggling because they're exhausted. It's not a great recipe for success. Next up, we got 49ers. They beat the Cowboys. I tried to speak it into existence last week that the Cowboys were going to win a close game. That's not what happened. But I already went into my rant of what the Cowboys did or didn't do. I really want to start this. And I brought it up with the Bills. Josh Allen did not look great against the Jaguars. He didn't. Turn the ball over, turnovers, you end up losing the game. But no one talks about that with Josh Allen. Josh Allen has turned the ball over more times in the last 3 or 4 years than any quarterback in the NFL now. Yet no one talks about when he turns the ball over because it's Josh Allen. So when we say Dak Prescott is similar to Josh Allen, they both have to take care of the football better. And then you go and lose your top when we compare those two, but the stats are the stats. That's the way it works. You can't blame one and then praise the other for the same issue. It's the thing I hate in sports all the time. You can't praise a guy because they had success. Or you can't praise a guy when they have success, but you can't praise a guy when he's the reason they lost. Now, I will say this. Was Dak Prescott the reason, the main reason they lost? The answer is no. There was a lot of reasons. You had penalties. You have guys lining up offside. You have guys getting very frustrated. They're too antsy. They're not focused. They're putting too much pressure on themselves. Then you have wide receivers that can't get open. And they're blaming Dak Prescott. You can't blame Dak for that. He can only do so much. Now, granted, he threw 3 interceptions. The last one wasn't his fault. Michael Gallup, it hits you in the hands, it hits you in the chest, you got to catch it. That's an interception. That's the problems the Cowboys had last year. Tipped interceptions, balls going off the chest protector or their hands landing into the defender's hands. And that blames Dak. That puts all that on Dak. That's not accurate. The second one was, but they only had a 5% chance to win the game anyway. So, in the way they were playing, they weren't going to win the game anyway. It could have been 100% chance they were going to win the game. It wouldn't matter. They would not have won. So, they couldn't get the ground game going. They couldn't get wide receivers open. But yet they're blaming Dak for those things. Or they're blaming Mike McCarthy for those things. This is the second history lesson. The West Coast offense is built for 2 things. Timing and spacing. Okay? Bill Walsh created this offense. All right? The timing is based on the quarterback's feet. So when the play is disrupted or you can't get momentum with a couple great plays in a row, it's hard for the offense to have success. This is the story. And I encourage you, you can learn a lot more about this on the Bill Walsh of Football Life episode they did a couple years ago. It's long, it's about 55 minutes, but it's a great story. It talks about all kinds of stuff. In fact, he wrote a book before he passed away called Finding the Winning Edge. And in that book, he has basically how they orchestrated the West Coast offense, schematics, all of it, recordings, everything. But what Bill did when he created that offense, it's to simplify the quarterback position. That's the best way I can put it. Simplify the quarterback position. Make it easier for him. By doing that, it allows other things to happen. So, for an example, this is a true story. Bill Walsh had Joe Montana, and he was talking to Ronnie Lott, and he's like, Ronnie, look at Joe's feet. They're beautiful. And it was not a fetish thing. This was not a fetish thing. Bill was talking about the footwork, Joe's footwork. And that's what made the offense go. And he went, and Steve Young got there, and I believe he got there in 83, 84. Or maybe I'm mixing my dates up a little bit. But when Steve got there, he went, he couldn't understand it, and Bill went and said, if you work on your footwork, I can tell you the timing of when you should throw the ball into who on your feet. And he said, what? That makes no sense. What? No one knew how this offense worked. This offense was based on Bill had a stopwatch, or he had someone that had a stopwatch to time each route. How long it should take if there's this coverage, how long it should take if there's this coverage, how long it should take if there's no coverage, like how long it should take, and he timed it. And he timed where the quarterback would be on that time. Where should the ball be? And is it possible for the quarterback to get that ball there on the time? So that's what he would do. But once Steve started to get it and learn the footwork of the West Coast offense, it became so much easier. So when we talk about whether there's a 3-step drop, there's a 5-step drop, 5-step with a hitch, 7-step with a hitch, it's all timing. It's all based what it is on. And Bill would always say, just follow the directions and you can play quarterback. It's not that hard. Just do what I'm telling you to do. Bill had a thinking of, I can script the whole game if I could have players that wouldn't mess it up, that would do exactly what I'm telling them to do. That was his philosophy. How does he do that? Well, he was that smart. He was that ahead of his time. And a lot of these great coaches are. But that's why that worked. And he would always tell Joe, footwork, 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 footwork. It's a 5-step drop. You took like 3 big and a half. But nothing's ready because you didn't do the directions properly. If you did the directions properly, it would have been ready. You wouldn't have had to wait. We have steps in place for that. That's what he was trying to do. So what the Niners did against the Cowboys was disrupt the timing, which made it harder on Dak because he's waiting. He's doing everything he has to do in the drop back. The offensive line's not helping him much, but he's doing everything he has to do in the drop back. and he's looking when his timing's right, but there's nothing there. It's covered too well, or they disrupted the timing. The guys aren't able to get off the release in time, so it's taking so much longer. So Dak has to wait. But it's not blame. You can't blame him. You can't even blame McCarthy. The Niners did a great job in that game plan. Now, if they see each other again, is that going to be a similar thing they're going to do? Maybe. But at the same time, you have to understand the West Coast offense is based on timing. If you can't run the ball, you're not going to get wide receivers. You're not going to get defenders to obey or deal with the run. And that's kind of hard when you have wide receivers that can't get off release because the guys are really jamming them with the coverages. Blame Dak all you want, but at the same time, it's not his fault. So stop trying to make it sound like he's the worst quarterback in the world. And finally, the last game that happened on Monday night, the Raiders beat the Packers 17-13 in a game where I thought, man, the Packers are going to win this. The Packers looked bad on offense. Jordan Love threw 3 picks, 2 to Spillane, the linebacker. The last interception, and I was watching the Peyton and Eli telecast. And Peyton talked about this earlier in that drive. He said, the problem with Jordan, he looks left and then right and back left. Or right, left, back to the right, back to the left. What he means is there's 2 guys on each side. There's 2 wide receivers on the left, there's 2 wide receivers on the right. He looks at one route on the right, and it's not there. Instead of going to his second guy on the right, he turns his whole head and goes to the left. Once that guy's not open, he goes back to the right to look at that guy in the slot or that guy on the outside. When that's not open, he goes back to the other side. You shouldn't do that. You're on the right, start right, then go left. That's what he should have done. On the third and last interception that ended up costing them the game, he has Watson early in the route. Watson beats the corner Robinson. He beats him. He has it. He puts his arm up. He's like, I got him. I got him. Throw it. Jordan's not looking that way. He's not. And once he does look that way, once he makes the decision to throw it, Robinson has already fixed his positioning. So now it's a jump ball. And Jordan underthrows it. He underthrows it, thinking Robinson won't turn around. But Robinson was already turned around. So why underthrow it? Also, if I remember correctly, Christian Watson's 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". Let me make sure. Hang on. Give me a second. Six four. Okay. 6'4". He's taller than I thought he was. But 6'4". He's 6'4" on a corner that's 5'9". 5'9", 5'10". So he's got 5-6 inches on him. That ball should be higher. You underthrew it. So Robinson, a guy who's 5'9", who is 5'9", 5'10", who is shorter by about 6-7 inches of Watson, has the opportunity to catch that ball. You can blame Watson. He didn't come back to it. But at the same time, you're expecting your quarterback to understand that, hey, it was open. I could probably throw a 50-50 ball up for my guy to catch it, but I'll put it high enough so if he can't catch it, nobody catches it. That's what he should have done. He didn't do that. and it cost him the game. Now, he's going to have good days and bad days, Jordan Love is. He's a young player. I understand everyone's saying, well, he's been in the league more than, yes, but he hasn't been a starter. Give him some time. Give him a year. Let him play. There's going to be bumps and lumps in the road, but let him play. Let him deal with it. Let him learn. Once he learns, he'll get it. He doesn't have to worry about the offense and running the offensive plays, but he has to worry about the execution during a game. Let him work through that. That's the only way. And I think people don't get that. They say, well, he's been in the league for so long. But as a backup, and as a young player, as a backup, you're not going to learn as much. You have to learn. You can learn from someone else's experience, but the only way you're really, truly going to learn quickly is if you have the experience. That's how they have to play. They're not quite there yet, but they're not as far. I said this. They're not quite there yet. They're not as far as everyone predicted them to be. I still think they're a good team. I don't know if they make the playoffs, but I think they're better than what we think they were going to be. Their record may not show it at the end, but they're better than what we think they're going to be. That's how I take it. Now, we enter into the next week of games. Let me make sure I have this right. So, Broncos versus the Chiefs. On Thursday Night Football. Chiefs are favored by 10. I have the Chiefs winning 34-10. I don't think the Broncos are that good. I think they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline. I think that's just going to be the future. At some point the Chiefs have to beat someone big, and I think the Broncos are that team. Now, I'll say this. The score may not resemble it, but actually during the game, it'll be closer than you think. The score may not resemble the fact, but it'll be closer than you think. But I have the Chiefs winning 34-10. Next up, we have the Lions and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are actually getting +3. I'm taking the Lions. It looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be back. So I'm going to take the Lions to win. And I think, again, close game, but I think it's going to be 28-24. Next up, we have the Patriots versus the Raiders. In this game, I don't know how to look at the Patriots. If they don't play well in this game, it's going to be a long road. It's already a long road, but it's going to get worse. So, the Raiders are favored by -3. This game is in Vegas, as the previous meeting was. I'm going to have the Raiders win. I have the Raiders winning. Similar game to what it was between the Raiders and Packers, 17-13. And finally, the Monday night game between the Chargers and the Cowboys. This game is happening in SoFi. This is an interesting game. Kellen Moore, now the offensive coordinator of the Chargers, was the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys for the last couple years. This is his kind of revenge game. Now, my concern, if I'm the Cowboys, is you gotta bounce back. You have to play better than what you did. You can't score 10 points. Your offense has to be better than that. The Chargers actually score points. Now, the thing is, the defense give up a lot of points. They give up a lot of points, and they make they don't have great run defense. You should be able to win on the offensive side of the ball in this game. Now they should looking like they're gonna have Austin Eckler back. He said that he's gonna play. I just this game is gonna come down to, is a Brandon Staley decision going to work? Like, is Brandon Staley gonna do something like a 4th and 1 on their own side of the field when the game is close? He decides to go for it. They don't get it, and is it costing them the game finally? Because the last 2 weeks it hasn't for them. They had their bye week, but 2 weeks of actual games, they've gone for it on a 4th and manageable, not gotten it on their side of the field, not getting it, and then decide, "You know what? We're gonna give the other team the opportunity to win," and then our defense bails us out. Like, I think that could happen again. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I think it could happen. However, I have the Cowboys winning this one in a bounce back effort. The Chargers are getting 2 points, but I have the Cowboys winning this one. I think it's gonna be a good game. I have the Cowboys winning 28-21. The Cowboys winning 28-21 in SoFi, which will be on Monday Night Football. And that's the predictions, the recap of all the games that happened, the recap of week 5, the predictions of week 6. And let me know in the comments who you would pick to win the games this week in week 6 of the NFL season. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hubert. Out.